Hi guys, and welcome to Chapter 5, Lesson 2, an easy lesson, and that's always exciting, trust me. So today you're going to be finding the absolute value of integers, and what you're going to be asking yourself every single time is, and hold on a second, let me get my mic, because I just remembered I don't have it. Hopefully this one works, is how many units away is that number from 0? That's all you ask yourself. So let's begin at the very beginning. The very beginning says that you're going to find the opposite of a number. So if I say the number 4, what would be the opposite of a positive 4 or 4?
Negative 4?
Yeah, it would be a negative 4, right? If I said negative 10, what would be the opposite of a negative 10? Tell each other.
10.
Yeah, I heard it, 10. All right. That took you a second to answer, right? All those questions? That'd be amazing if they were all just what is the opposite of this number. Today,
It's blurring.
oh, I see your finger on the thing, or?
No, it's blurring over here. Whenever you walk over there.
Oh, it's okay. Just don't follow me over there. Just keep it here.
Okay.
So over here, what was that? Oh, the opposite of a number. So today you're going to look at the opposite of a number. So two opposites. So if I start with 3, and I tell you to do the opposite.
Wait, Mrs. Munoz. It's blurring out now, like a lot, like really bad right here.
Okay, wait.
Oh, there we go. I fixed it.
So the opposite of 3. Keep it steady, please.
Okay.
Okay, the opposite of the opposite means you're going to do two opposites. Let's do the first opposite. What's the opposite of 3? Everyone, eyes up here. What's the opposite of 3?
Negative 3.
What's the opposite of a negative 3?
3.
Positive 3 or just 3, yes. So the opposite of 3 is just 3. What did I do? I started with 3. The opposite of the opposite. Do two opposites. My first opposite of a 3 is a negative 3. The opposite of that would be a positive 3. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Let's do a negative number. Negative 4. What is the opposite of a negative 4?
Negative 4.
Negative 4 is correct. Okay, the first opposite is it's 4. Then the second opposite would be it's negative 4. Do you notice a pattern here happening? What do you think, Johan? Just the same number again. If you do the opposite of the opposite, you get the same thing back. If you start with the 4, negative 4, you get a negative 4. If you start with a positive 3, you get a positive 3. Two opposites gives you the same thing back. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
They're going to ask you tonight on your homework, what's the opposite of negative 2? 2. They might say, what's the opposite of a negative 2? You would say?
Negative 2.
Because we know it always ends up the same thing. Following? Okay. Then the last thing they want you to know is absolute value. Absolute value asks you always, read this question to yourself silently. How many units away is that number from 0? It always asks the question. So an absolute value bars look like this. They're very long vertical lines. It asks how many units away is that number from 0. Tell your neighbor how many units away is a negative 2 from 0 on a number line. If you saw it on a number line.
2.
All right, show me with your fingers how 2 units away. So the absolute value of a negative 2, eyes up here. The absolute value of a negative 2 is 2. It's 2 units away from 0. What is the absolute value of 4? Again, the question is, how many units away is that number from 0?
4.
What is the answer, class? 4. Do you notice a pattern here or something happening here? What do you notice, Isidro?
Pretty much just you have to subtract it by 0.
What if I subtract -2 from 0? Yes. It's going to be a positive number. Yes, it's going to be a positive number. They're asking about distance, and distance is always positive. Have you ever told somebody, hey, during track today or PE, I ran a -1.2 mile? That's impossible. No, I ran it backwards. But you still ran it, right? Distance it's always positive. Once you run it, I don't care if you run it forward or you run it backward, you move the distance. Distance is positive, right? It cannot be negative. You moved it. So this is asking the distance away from 0. It has to be positive. It's 4 units away. It doesn't matter. It's still the distance. And distance is always positive. You follow me? Okay? What happens if I do this? Discuss with each other what you think is going to happen. Now, there's a negative on with each other. There's a negative on the outside of the absolute value. Discuss with each other what do you think the answer is going to be and why. Go ahead. Discuss.
Wait, no, I have like another pattern that I'm seeing.
Okay, well, let's share with the class in a minute. Just right now, discuss this. Keep it steady. All right. Before we even get to the answer, what are some questions that are happening in your head when you look at this? There should be some questions going on in your head. What's one, Johan?
I don't understand.
Okay, what's another question, Damien?
Is it negative or is it positive?
Is it negative or is it positive? Okay, what another one?
Why is there the lines between them?
Why is there a line between them? These lines? Okay, another question that's happening.
Why isn't the negative symbol inside the line?
Why isn't the negative symbol inside the lines? Sure, these are great questions. Yes?
What can like the negative sign do?
What does it do? What can it do? Good. So I'm going to have you guys go back to the question. You see absolute value bar, you go, oh, I know the question I'm supposed to ask. The question I'm supposed to ask is, how many units away is that number from 0? The answer is that it is 4. And then you're like, well, this guy, what do I do with this guy?
Bring it down.
I gotta bring it down because I don't know what else to do with it. Now it all of a sudden is a -4. Do you see that? That is only because this guy is outside of the absolute value. Therefore, I just brought it down.
That looks like it's like showing the opposite of the opposite.
It does, but it's not necessarily. You answer the question, and then I don't know what to do with this guy. I gotta do something. I can bring it down. That's all I can do. And then you can't do anything else. Okay, try this one on your whiteboards now. Try that on your whiteboards. And hold that up. Try it on your whiteboard. Write something down here. I want to see what you come up with. Okay, you're going to discuss with each other what your answer is. Go ahead. Discuss why you got that answer. Don't be afraid. You gotta discuss it. Elizabeth, come join the discussion over here.
Do like it's negative.
Okay. Joshua, what was the discussion that we had over there in that table? -7. Come over here because I can't hear you. Then join the mic. Here, I'll give you the mic. Josh is going to tell us what the discussion was. Go ahead. Oh, never mind. I can again. Sorry. Let's have. Okay, go ahead. He has 2 little pools, so he can't really. I picked the. There, we're gonna have somebody help us out here. Go ahead.
Because -7,
A little bit louder.
-7 is 7 spaces away from 0. So we had to take the negative sign, pull it down, so it's
So
negative
can you
7.
write it down, what you're thinking?
This equals 7, but since we don't know what to do with that, we just make it
So negative 7, right? Oops, I could have a mic, but I don't. So they still answer the question. What's the absolute value of 7, negative 7? She said 7. I'm gonna put it over here so you can see a little bit clearer. And then she said, we don't know what to do with this, so we put it right next to it. Is she right? She is. Yes.
Are we kind of just going based off if there's a negative symbol or not?
No, you're answering the question first. What's the distance? And then boom, you put this on here. If there's no negative sign, then this would have been what? 7. Does that make sense? Now you're gonna try one like this. You're gonna go negative 10 minus 2. First of all, we have to answer the question. What is the absolute value? So how many units away is that number from 0? Negative 10, how many units away is it?
10.
Go to the next one. 2, how many units away is this?
2.
I don't know what to do with the symbol. I bring it down. Now, when were you taught this subtraction? When were you taught this? Kindergarten, first, okay, whatever. So then this should be very heartwarming to you because this is what you're doing, is subtracting numbers. They're very simple to subtract. Go ahead, solve that. We'll see you guys later.